November 1988. Through the tequila haze and neon glow, Talia never notices the predator tracking her every move, counting down the minutes until she vanishes. The liquor barely touches her shifter metabolism, but the intoxication of the moment, the engagement party, the promise of her upcoming mating ceremony, the knowledge that she'll soon be bound to her mate for life, makes her head swim all the same. That is, until something prickles down her spine, like a shadow crossing light. Someone's watching her. One of Graham's men. Her wolf perks up, and Talia's smile fades as she glances around. She knows they're posted around the bar, here to protect her, or just make sure she behaves. A flush of annoyance rises, and with it an impulse. Let them watch. She rolls her hips with an extra sway. Let them report to their alpha that his fiancée can dance like she has nothing to lose. Talia raises her head in defiance, then her eyes meet the stranger's. He's watching her, leaning against the back wall, light green eyes glinting. He's handsome, with short blonde hair and sharp features, but it's his gaze, intent, dark, and unwavering, that sends a thrill through her. One could grow used to being stared at like this, she thinks. Her wolf practically pines at the attention. This man is not one of Graham's. She'd have noticed him before. He's tall, broad, and now that he's caught her stare, he's smirking. And good God, that smirk, it's like he knows every dirty thought coursing through her. Her blood feels warm. What do you think a spark feels like? She asks her friend. The way his eyes linger feels like a caress, and suddenly the room feels hotter, tighter. Her friend laughs, following her gaze. If I had moves like yours, I'd get on that bar and see for myself. Talia giggles, giddy, feeling lightheaded. She climbs onto the stool, her body alive with the sensation of being watched by him, owned by his gaze. Her hands slide over her arms, down to her waist, as she sways her hips. The beat pulses in her ears. A flush spreads, a warmth building at her core as her wolf stirs, whispering that he's still watching. Talia closes her eyes. When she rolls her shoulders, she imagines his hands guiding her, touching her waist, pulling her close. She arches her back, neck exposed. She can almost feel his breath against her pulse, his fingers firm as the friction builds. She loses herself, swaying her hips as though they're moving in sync. She doesn't know his name, but all she feels is him, and he's right there, driving her on, making her feel good, so good. Her breath comes in fast pants. It feels too much, and her head begins to spin. No matter, the bar is so bright and colorful, and Talia is lost in the heat of this stranger's gaze. If only he wasn't just watching her because he's been paid to abduct her, though Talia doesn't know that yet. One Alec. Alec is watching her, only her. He takes another pull of whiskey, letting the burn distract him from the nauseating mix of duty and desire twisting in his gut. Perfumes, sweat, and alcohol saturate the air. He watches the girl again as she climbs onto the bar with surprising grace, swaying her hips to a low beat. Her blonde hair has come partly undone, falling in wild waves around a face flushed with booze and abandon. "Come on, Talia." One of her friends grabs her arm, helping her stand. "Show us those moves." Dim lights pulse across the room, illuminating her curves in quick, vibrant flashes as she tips her head back, baring the soft curve of her very pretty neck. Alec tears his eyes away. He needs to keep his wolf in check. Unfortunately for him, his wolf is a little obsessed with his latest target, Talia Montrose. Why a shifter princess like her, about to be bonded to some big shot alpha, is celebrating her engagement party here of all places is beyond Alec. But then again, he isn't normally one to attend high society pack events. You need to have a pack for that, which he doesn't. When push comes to shove, he'll need to get her out of here discreetly. Unfortunately, she's now rolling her hips in a rhythm that is anything but discreet. Every damn male around the bar, desperately panting after his target, isn't exactly going to help him get the job done. The girl's hands slide teasingly over her curves while she giggles with the exaggerated enthusiasm of someone who's had more than a few too many drinks. She hasn't, though. If she's twirling across the bar stool, her fingers grazing the fabric of her dress, it's because of what Alec paid the barman to slip into her drink earlier. Underneath the vanilla and citrus of her perfume, Alec's wolf catches the acrid tang of anxiety every time one of her alpha's guards shifts position around the place. Now, though, she's too far gone to realize how other wolves in the crowd track each sway of her hips like they're marking prey. A 5-hour drive to the cabin, assuming they didn't hit trouble at the border, he'd planned for contingencies. But still, he can't move just yet. The Alpha's men are positioned exactly where he'd expected. 2 by the main entrance, 1 at the back door, 2 circulating the crowd. Amateur hour. He just needs to wait a little while longer before his contact creates the distraction he's planned for. Talia's steps falter, a slight stumble, barely noticeable, but before he knows it, Alec is already moving, sliding expertly through the crowd. Someone reaches for her, but Alec easily pulls him back, stepping forward to catch the tumbling girl against his chest. "Whoops," she giggles, blinking blearily at him. She smells like a dream, which is highly unfortunate. The girl nuzzles closer, pressing her face against his neck, and Alec stiffens. The drugs must be hitting her system hard for her to act so cuddly. "You smell really good," Talia sighs, her breath sending an involuntary shiver down his spine, like pine trees and home. His gut twists with guilt he immediately attempts to swallow down. He doesn't owe this girl anything. She's just a job. He's doing it all for Jill. "Let's get you some air," he mutters, steering her toward the exit. A quick glance at Talia's bodyguards tells him he can't waste any more time. Meanwhile, the girl presses soft kisses against his throat, and it's doing things to him he has no need nor time for. Their eyes lock, and for a moment, the bass fades away, the crowd disappears, and it all feels ancient and inevitable, like gravity. Then her body goes slack in his arms as unconsciousness finally claims her. "This isn't right," Alec mutters, hurrying toward the exit. None of this is right, but it's too late to back out now. The first thing Talia registers is the vibration, a constant mechanical rumble that wraps around her. She tries to move, but her wrists catch against something rough. Rope binds her hands behind her back, her ankles too. She shouldn't be here. She shouldn't panic. Claws scrape up her throat. Someone has taken her, kidnapped her. She reaches for her wolf, that familiar surge of power coiled beneath her skin. But her body feels weak, unresponsive, like trying to run through quicksand. Whatever they've given her, it's strong enough to suppress even her shifter metabolism. The fog in her mind begins to lift, replaced by a sharp spike of fear. A blindfold presses tightly over her eyes, and something is wedged between her teeth, the bitter taste of cotton making her gag. The trunk. She's in a trunk. The realization dawns as her heightened sense of smell picks up hints of motor oil, rubber, and the sharp metallic tang of fear. Images flash through her mind. Neon lights, champagne bubbles, Charlotte's voice yelling to the bride over the beat of a Madonna song at her bachelorette party. Graham's men stationed around the bar, watching like statues. And then, green eyes, summer forest green, and strong arms catching her as she fell. A scent like pine and winter wind that had made her wolf purr with contentment for just a heartbeat. Her racing pulse steadies. Her wolf settles beneath her skin, as if recognizing something. But then the car hits a bump, jolting her back to reality, and the memory slips away like smoke. Her ears pop suddenly, the pressure shift telling her they're climbing in altitude. The air grows thinner, colder, creeping through her party dress, which now feels absurdly inadequate. The car jerks around a bend, and her body rolls against the scratchy carpet lining of the trunk. Talia screams against the gag, but the sound is pitifully muffled, swallowed by the cramped space around her. She kicks out with her bound feet, her heels connecting with something solid, the lid probably. She kicks again and again, but her movements are sluggish, uncoordinated. The drugs make her limbs feel like they're wrapped in cotton, each desperate attempt weaker than the last. Shift, she commands herself, desperation lacing every thought. Shift. But her wolf remains dormant, trapped beneath layers of chemical submission. Even her senses feel dulled, the world coming at her in muted flashes through a haze. Talia forces herself to breathe through her nose, fighting back the hysteria clawing at the edges of her mind. Graham's men had been watching her, his elite guards, the ones no one was supposed to get past. If someone managed to snatch her right from under their noses, they were either incredibly skilled or utterly reckless. Her first memory of Graham, the alpha, and her fiancé surges up. The way he barely looked at her when their packs signed the marriage contract, his steel gray eyes fixed on the alliance papers instead of her. She'd imagined something more heated, the promise of something special. But fated bonds were fairy tales, and her mating ceremony had been arranged for the benefit of her pack. Graham had been nothing but polite and efficient. She told herself it was nerves, that he'd warm up once they spent time together. Now, though, the cold ruthlessness she'd felt from him feels like a lifeline. A small, almost defiant smile tugs at the corners of her gagged mouth. Whoever has taken her is a fool. Whoever dared to steal Graham Norfol's intended clearly has a death wish. She's seen the way other alphas skirt around him, heard whispers of what happens to those who cross him. Her kidnapper might have her now, but they've made a fatal mistake. Graham will come for her, and when he does... The car jerks around another curve, and Talia braces herself, focusing. She can't shift, can't fight, not yet, but the drugs will wear off eventually. All she has to do is wait, gather her strength, and survive until then. The thought balloons in her chest like hope, or maybe delusion, but Talia has always been good at choosing what to believe. Let them think they've caught a helpless bride. Testing the ropes around her wrists despite her body's protests, she thinks, they'll learn. Alec kills the engine, letting silence settle over the dirt road that ends abruptly before him. The mountains loom ahead, jagged peaks cutting into the pre-dawn sky like broken teeth, beautiful in their desolation, merciless in their indifference. No trees, no shelter, just wind-carved rock and patches of stubborn ice refusing to melt even in spring. Up here, there's no room for mistakes, no space for second thoughts, just survival. The cabin is another 3 miles up, hidden in a natural fold of the mountain where the trees finally find purchase. They'll have to go on foot. The roads are too rough now, and he can't risk the noise of an ATV. Even in this desolate stretch of nowhere, there's always some idiot human with hiking poles and too much optimism trying to conquer nature. Daylight is the enemy now. His wolf's heightened senses pick up the symphony of night owls hunting in the distance, small prey scurrying through underbrush. From the trunk, he catches only the faintest trace of his captive's scent, sealed away from him. It's better this way. That strange pull he'd felt at the bar must have been a trick of the lights, the crowd, or the subtle change in Talia's breathing pattern cutting through his focus. As the sedatives begin to wear off, Alec reaches under the driver's seat, his fingers closing around the medical kit. Just another job, he tells himself, rolling the syringe between his fingers. But then her scent seeps through the sealed trunk. Fear, mixed with something wild and fierce that makes his wolf surge forward with an unexpected protectiveness. His hand tightens on the syringe. Since when does he care about making things easier on a target? Maybe because for the first time in his career, Alec isn't entirely sure he's working for the right side. The thought makes him growl, shaking it off. He doesn't get paid to be sure. He gets paid to deliver. Besides, it's too late for second thoughts. They're here, in this barren place where nature strips everything down to simple truths: predator and prey, survive or don't. He pops the syringe cap with his thumb. A muffled thud from the trunk makes him pause, the syringe hovering. Her scent hits him full force now. Fear, yes, but underneath it, something that calls to his very nature, something that makes his instincts prickle in warning. Fire, a fierce will that resonates with something deep within him. Determination. Alec smirks, tapping the syringe to check for air bubbles. His intel painted Talia as a soft-pack princess, all bright smiles and submission, but that spark he caught earlier at the bar wasn't a fluke. This one has fire in her. Good thing I'm not paid to care, he thinks, stepping out into the biting mountain air. The crunch of gravel under his boot seems obscenely loud in the pristine silence. He moves toward the trunk, syringe ready. The trunk springs open, and Alec barely has time to register the flash of cream-colored fur before 60 pounds of snarling wolf launches at his throat. Her timing is perfect. It would have worked, too, if he hadn't spent the last decade dealing with desperate shifters. He catches her mid-leap, but instead of the brutal takedown he'd planned, his hands gentle at the last second. He uses just enough force to guide her to the frozen ground. His wolf howls at the pained yelp she makes anyway. She twists, snapping at his hands, and her teeth graze his forearm before he manages to pin her. "Easy," he murmurs, the words slipping out before he can stop them. His free hand finds the soft fur behind her ear even as he drives the syringe home. "Nice try, princess," he adds, forcing a smirk to cover his confusion. Her wolf form is smaller than he expected, lean and quick rather than powerful, built for speed over strength. Her fur gleams almost silver in the starlight, except for one golden patch between her eyes that his fingers itch to touch. Their gazes lock, blue meeting green, and for a heartbeat, the struggle vanishes. It's like looking into a mirror, seeing a reflection of his own wild spirit staring back. His wolf recognizes something in her, something that calls to him with an authority greater than any alpha's command. Talia growls, hackles raised, but he can already feel her muscles starting to go slack under the sedative's influence. Still, there's fight left in her yet. Defiance burned in those ice-blue eyes, winter cold and unforgiving. He eases up slightly as her struggles weaken, his thumb absently stroking through her fur. "Stay in wolf form," he says, his voice dropping, letting a hint of command seep through. "Believe me, you'll be doing plenty of hiking." Her only response is another growl, softer now, slurred around the edges as the drugs take hold. She fights it. He'll give her that. But even as her head droops, those blue eyes stay locked on him, promising retribution. Definitely not a soft princess, his wolf notes with something dangerously close to admiration. Alec pushes the thought away, focusing on checking her bonds. He's not paid to be impressed. He's not paid to wonder why his hands keep wanting to gentle through her fur, or why his wolf keeps trying to surge forward and claim instead of subdue. He's paid to deliver, and that is what he intends to do. For Talia, follow, stay close, obey. The commands wear into Talia's mind. Each step through the snow becomes a battle between terror and an inexplicable need to comply. The injection site burns where he struck with the syringe moments after subduing her failed escape attempt. Her muscles still remember the shocking gentleness of his hands when he caught her mid-leap. How could someone so dangerous feel so wrong, yet right? He's your kidnapper, her mind screams. Run, fight, escape. But when his scent catches on the wind, pine needles and wood smoke, her wolf whines with longing. Even her fiancé, one of the most feared alphas in the region, hadn't affected her like this. Her wolf had been wary of Graham's power, warning her to tread carefully around her future mate, but it had never begged to submit, never ached for his touch the way it does now for this stranger's hands. What has he done to me? What kind of power could make her want to bare her throat more than an alpha's command? She stumbles, paw catching on hidden ice. The world spins, whether from drugs, exhaustion, or that maddening pull toward him, she can't tell. Keep up, his voice cuts through the wind, rough as gravel but warm, enticing. Her body moves faster before she can stop herself. His words don't just echo in her mind, they resonate in her bones, curl around her heart like smoke, sweet and inescapable. It's the drugs, she thinks desperately. I don't know what he dosed me with, but it has to be the reason. Though drugs don't explain why every step away from him feels wrong, why her wolf keeps trying to close the distance. The mountain winds shriek around them, or maybe that's just the sound of her resolve crumbling. Fight back, her mind demands. You can take him by surprise. She's engaged to an alpha, for crying out loud. She likes to think she was chosen, not just because joining their two packs will be beneficial, but for Talia's strength. But she doesn't feel like fighting now, not when his scent wraps around her, carried on a bitter gust of wind. Her wolf wants to press closer, to feel those dangerous hands gentle through her fur again. It had felt so impossible to resist. Good, almost there. The words drift back, half command, half promise. Her legs shake, either fighting the sedative or fighting the urge to run to him. She's not sure which anymore. This isn't right, she thinks hazily, even as another wave of dizziness washes over her. I shouldn't feel so safe with someone who's holding me against my will. But each shouldn't feels weaker than the last, drowned out by the pull of his presence, the rightness of following in his footsteps. The snow is falling harder, or maybe that's just her vision failing. Through the white haze, she sees something, a darker shape, angular and solid, a cabin. She tries to focus, but the ground seems to rise up to meet her. The last thing she registers is his scent growing stronger, his arms surprisingly gentle as they lift her from the snow. Then darkness claims her, and Talia falls into dreams of belonging and surrender. Dawn creeps through the cabin's frosted windows, painting gold across Talia's sleeping form.
Alec hasn't moved from her bedside in hours, telling himself it's to watch for signs of the sedative wearing off. It's not because of how peaceful she looks or how his wolf keeps urging him to brush that stray curl from her face. He should have secured her in the safe room the moment they'd arrived. Instead, when she'd shifted back in his arms, body limp with exhaustion and drugs, he'd found himself laying her in bed, tucking the blankets around her bare shoulders. Now her scent is soaked into the sheets, wild honey and spring rain, with an underlying warmth that makes his wolf pace restlessly beneath his skin. "You're getting soft," he tells himself. Jill would laugh herself sick if she could see him now.
The thought of his sister sends a familiar spike of guilt through his chest, but this job will save her life. That's all that matters, even if something about this whole setup feels wrong. Even if his wolf keeps trying to surge forward and claim instead of guard. He made his deal with the devil, and there's no turning back now. Talia's breathing changes, quickening toward consciousness. Alec steels himself, keeping still as those blue eyes flutter open. Weariness replaces confusion as she spots him. Without a word, he holds out his coffee cup, a peace offering he knows she probably won't accept. Her voice catches, she backs away, pulling the blanket tight around herself as she takes in the room, then the state she's in. Her gaze snaps to him, accusation flaring. "Did you undress me?" she exclaims, sounding so righteously appalled that Alec can't help but snort. "You did that yourself, sweetheart," he says, the corner of his mouth twitching. "Or do you not remember your dramatic escape attempt?" Talia doesn't look the tiniest bit sorry for it. Her expression grows all the more affronted at his words. "You kidnapped me!" she exclaims, pointing an accusatory finger at Alec. Fire blazes in her ice-blue eyes, and his wolf practically purrs at the display of spirit. "Impressive observation skills there, Watson," he says, pleased with the spark behind her fury. His captive's irises intensify. "Got any more where that came from?" "Why take me?" she asks, clenching her fists. "What do you want? Money?" Alec replies, the half-truth tasting bitter on his tongue. It's not entirely accurate. Missing key details, like the fact that his sister's life had been in jeopardy, leaving him no other choice but to take the job. The bottom line remains. If they hadn't been desperate for money, Jill wouldn't have made a bad decision in the first place, wouldn't have ended up in danger. Talia lifts her chin, a sneer curling her lips. "And you couldn't get money any other way than through kidnapping?" she asks, her words dripping with disdain. It strikes a nerve, making Alec bristle at the accusation because she isn't entirely wrong. "Not all of us grow up in packs that answer our every beck and call, princess," he snaps. "You have no idea how I grew up," Talia counters, letting each word fall like a stone. She is the niece and heir of Alpha Richard Montrose, leader of Grimrock Pack up north, engaged to mate with Alpha Graham Norfolk, whose reputation speaks for itself. Should I go on? Talia snorts, lifting her nose in the air in a display of aristocratic disdain. "Don't bother," she says. "I won't be here long enough for it to matter." Amusement colors his voice, masking the way his wolf snarls at the confidence in her tone. "You won't?" Talia's eyes shine with steely resolve as a slow, spreading smirk stretches her pink lips. "You've committed a grave offense," she declares, challenge glinting in her eyes. "Taking what belongs to an alpha, surely you know that." Alec raises an eyebrow. "You think your great love will save you?" The words come out harsher than intended, the thought of Graham touching her. "I know he will," Talia declares, eyes sparkling with genuine pride. He's the strongest, most powerful alpha for miles, if not the entire country. And I'm his. He'll make you pay for this. You'll be sorry. You'll see. Alec rolls his eyes, trying to tamp down his fury. If your alpha's so great and all-powerful, how did I manage to take you? Talia scent spikes with fury, wild honey turning electric before a storm. It makes his blood sing, makes him want to see just how bright that fire can burn. Drink, he orders, holding out the coffee again. You need to warm up. Defiance marks her features, but the shift in her scent tells a different story. It seems the proud little princess enjoys being bossed around. It makes Alec think of all kinds of things he shouldn't. Do as I say, he insists, delighted by the way her pupils dilated his command. Slowly she takes the cup, eyes never leaving his. Alec grins, until the coffee hits his face in a scalding splash. By the time he clears his vision, Talia's already fled halfway to the door, a flash of pale skin and determination. Talia rushes down an unfamiliar hallway, primal instinct driving her forward. She needs to get away from here. She needs to escape, and this might be her only shot. Rich wooden walls blur past as she desperately searches for a way out, the glow of stone fireplaces lighting her path. Freedom surges within her as her wolf strains beneath her skin, ready to break free. Before she can act, she slams into an unyielding wall of muscle. Strong hands spin her around, pinning her against cold wooden panels. Keep still, a low voice growls in her ear. Her captor's body cages her, raw power radiating from every taut line of him. Her wolf should cower, but instead it rises, defiant. I said, keep still, he snarls, but Tal is beyond listening. She twists, claws emerging, and swipes at his chest. He catches her wrists in one hand, forcing them above her head. The display of strength makes her gasp, heat flooding her cheeks. Let me go, she yelps, each word laced with a snarl. But his answering rumble only stirs her wolf further. Make me, he purrs, his breath warm against her skin. She bucks against his hold, and his other hand clamps onto her hip, fingers digging in with bruising force. The pain pleasure of it wrenches a whimper from her throat. His scent overwhelms her, pine, smoke, and male hunger, turning her thoughts to haze. She struggles, rides, and bucks until he bares his teeth against her throat. The sharp press of fangs makes her moan, arching into him even as her mind screams to fight. There's a good girl, he murmurs against her pulse, and God help her, the praise liquefies her bones. His grip gentles, rewarding her submission, and that's when she strikes, twisting hard, almost breaking free. That'll teach him. But he's faster, stronger. The world spins as he slams her back against the wall, his thigh wedging between hers to pin her in place. Talia's cheeks burn from the feel of it. How dare you, she growls, but there's dark appreciation in his voice that makes her shiver. Closing her eyes, she focuses all her energy on keeping still. If she'd lowered her body just a couple inches, she'd feel the press of his thigh where she aches, and the thought makes her moan. His scent, thick, rich, aroused, is doing things to her, making her dizzy, breathless, not herself. Open your eyes, he commands, the order feeling like a caress too tempting to ignore. Look at me. Talia obeys. His face, impossibly beautiful, hovers inches from hers, his pupils blown wide with a hunger that leaves her speechless. They're both panting now,
their breath mingling, the air between them electric. Then his gaze drops to her mouth, and Talia's heart thunders. He jerks back with a low curse, hauling her down the hall before she can process the loss. The door slams behind her with finality. Talia slides to the floor, trembling. What is this madness? Why does every bruise from his grip feel like a brand she wants to keep? She can still feel the graze of his fangs against her throat, still smell his scent, pine and smoke, darkening to raw male hunger. The memory alone makes her pulse spike, her body aching in ways she's never experienced before. She presses her forehead to her knees. She needs to think. She needs to leave. Her wolf paces restlessly, already plotting the next escape attempt. Talia slides to the floor, her entire body trembling. Her skin burns where he touched her. Phantom impressions of his grip on her wrists, her hips, the hard press of his body caging her against the wall. The bay window in the living room catches her eye. If she times it right, she could break through, shift mid-leap. Of course, he'd hear the glass shatter. He'd come running, all coiled strength and predatory grace, those strong hands catching her waist just as she jumps. Her cheeks burn at the thought. The back door. She sees it now, past the kitchen, probably leading to a deck. 3 steps, maybe 4, and she'd be outside, unless he's faster, unless those arms wrap around her from behind again, pulling her back against that hard chest, his breath hot against her neck as he growls. A whimper escapes her throat. Her wolf is restless, her skin too tight, her body thrumming with tension. The bathroom window was small, but she could squeeze through, though he might grab her ankle, drag her back, pin her down with that powerful body. Bastard. Her claws dig into her palms, breaking skin. How dare he manhandle her like that? How dare he stop, pull away, leave her burning? Arrogant, insufferable. The door might as well be vibrating with his presence on the other side. Her wolf paces, torn between snarling and whining. Would he bare those fangs again if she flung it open? Would he slam her against it, finish what he started? Talia bites back a growl of pure frustration. She hates him, hates the way he touched her, hates the way he didn't touch her enough. Hates how his scent lingers on her skin, how her body still aches. Focus. She needs to focus. On the window or the door or anywhere, but not on the thought of his hands catching her again. Her wolf prowls closer to the door, claws itching to tear it open, just to wipe that smirk off his face, just to show him he can't control her, just to feel those dangerous hands on her once more. 7. Alec stumbles away from Talia's door, his wolf raging beneath his skin. Her scent clings to him, wild honey turned sharp with fear, underlaid with something darker that makes his fangs ache. The memory of her body pressed against his, the broken sound she made when he bared his teeth against her throat, it haunts him. What the hell is wrong with him? He'd been rough, primal, everything he shouldn't be with a terrified captive. Yet his wolf howls to go back, to finish what they started, to claim. He forces himself down the basement steps, trying to outrun the guilt that wars with his hunger. Her distress calls to something protective in him, even as her defiance awakens something far more dangerous. He needs distance, needs to remember why he's here, what's at stake. The promised satellite phone sits on a dusty shelf up here, where jagged peaks tear into the winter sky and storms can isolate you for weeks. Regular house phones are useless out here. The number burns in his memory like a brand. One ring, then silence on the other end. Alec steps forward, gripping the phone tightly, his jaw clenched as he waits for the voice on the other side. Boots crunched in the fresh snow as the mountains loomed around the cabin like ancient guardians,
indifferent to the dramas unfolding in their shadow. Reaching the safe house had been difficult, and his voice remained neutral despite the agitation bristling within him. A sound caught his attention, a soft scrape of determination against metal. His eyes tracked to the rear of the cabin, where Talia was wedged halfway out a bathroom window, yanking furiously at the iron bars with admirable stubbornness. "Are you certain you haven't been detected?" The question came through, carefully neutral, betraying nothing. Talia let out a frustrated grunt, straining against the unyielding bars. Her hair caught the morning light like spun gold, and Alec found himself smirking despite the tension tightening in his gut. "If I have, there's been no repercussions," he murmured, watching his captive attempt the impossible. A sharp intake of breath sounded over the line. "And the girl?" Shaken, but unharmed, his response carried just enough volume for Talia to hear. Her head snapped up, blue eyes wide as they met his. He offered a cheerful wave, earning an unladylike growl in return. "Good."
Wait for further instructions. The line went dead, leaving Alec alone with his thoughts, and the sight of Talia still determinedly trying to squeeze through a space far too small for her. Mountain winds howled around them, carrying the promise of another storm. Alec didn't mind waiting, though something told him his fierce little captive wouldn't share his patience. At least the view was entertaining. Talia's body burned, sheets tangling around her legs as she tossed restlessly. Exhaustion weighed heavily on her, yet sleep eluded her. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, making everything worse. Perhaps she should have accepted her captor's offer of food earlier. When his gruff, "You need to eat," had resonated through her door, instinctive anger had spoken for her instead. "I'd rather die," she'd screamed, baring her teeth, hoping to sound impressive. But that infuriating man had only laughed. "You sure? I made lasagna," he taunted, "which will probably be as gross as you are." She'd barked back, ending the exchange. Now hunger twisted her insides, and her last unsatisfactory retort looped endlessly in her mind. She should have come up with something better, something sharper, meaner, cutting deeper, something that would have earned a reaction. She wanted this man, this green-eyed man who dared take her, to hurt as much as she did. She wanted to mark him physically for what he'd done, for how every time she closed her eyes, she saw him, felt the phantom touch of his unwanted hands on her skin. Talia bit her lip, hating him for it. Running her fingers across her body, she mapped where his hands had been. Shifting, she buried her face into her pillow, stifling a high-pitched scream. She hated him. She'd never hated anyone so much in her life. Her wolf paces beneath her skin, restless and yearning. Revenge, that's what she craves, what keeps her awake at night. She wants this man to pay. Talia trembles as the desire to claw and bite claws at her insides. Her skin feels hypersensitive where her nightgown clings to her curves, damp and clammy against her body. The air presses down on her, heavy and suffocating. Barely aware of herself rising, she moves toward the door, which opens without resistance. Her bare feet pad across hardwood floors until she finds a covered plate left by the entrance. Food. It makes her mouth water until his scent hits her. Pine and smoke, raw male power. It overwhelms everything else. Talia's knees weaken. How can this man, the worst person she's ever known, smell so intoxicating? The unfairness of it infuriates her.
even as his scent pulls her downstairs like an unbreakable chain. Each step quickens her pulse. He sits by the fireplace, one leg stretched out, the other bent casually at the knee. Firelight dances across his sharp features, chiseled cheekbones, a strong jawline, the dangerous curve of his mouth. Her fingers ache to trace the corded muscles of his forearms, revealed where he's pushed up his sleeves. Heat pools low in her belly as she watches his throat move while he takes a sip from his glass. Irritated by her own reaction, she forces herself to speak. "Is it poisoned?" His scoff fills the room. "If I wanted you dead, you would be." "Right," she snaps back, because drugging, kidnapping, and manhandling clearly show peaceful intentions. His eyes darken to forest green in the firelight, and all coherent thought vanishes. Her wolf surges forward, recognizing something ancient and primal in his gaze. "I'm not going to hurt you, Talia," he swears, his voice resonating deep within her bones. "You're safe." Against her will, her muscles relax, tension melting away like snow under spring sunlight. Something inside her stirs, eager to submit, to prove how well she can obey. "You're safe," he repeats, his tone dropping lower, rougher. A soft whine escapes her before she can stop it. Her thighs press together involuntarily. He gestures toward her plate. "Want me to reheat that?" But words fail her. His gaze travels over her body like a possessive caress, lingering where the fabric clings to her form. She should run, she should fight, anything but stand there trembling like prey while his scent fills her lungs with pure need. Yet when he rises with predatory grace, every movement exuding controlled power, her wolf recognizes him as a superior predator. An inappropriate shiver of pleasure runs down her spine. "Let him come," it whispers. "Let him take." Each step he takes thunders louder in her ears until he's close enough for his breath to fan across her face. His scent envelops her now, stronger, darker, spiced with something that makes her mouth water and her body ache. His fingers brush hers as he reaches for the plate, sending lightning through her veins. A small sound escapes her throat, betraying her despite her resolve. Breathy, hungry, desperate. "You all right?" His voice has gone rough, almost a growl. She's trembling. "Of course not," she replies. "You kidnapped me." Her answer, however, comes out plaintive, needy, and the answering smirk she gets for it should infuriate her. But instead, it makes her want to bare her throat. "Nothing personal," he murmurs, his voice pitched low enough to make her shiver. "Just business." But his eyes say something else entirely as they drop to her parted lips. She tries to pout, but then his thumb traces over them, and coherent thought dissolves. "What can I do to make it better?" The words ghost across her skin, his breath hot against her throat. She whimpers, aching for his touch, but snarling at the knowing smirk on his face. "You!" she spits, fleeing back upstairs. He doesn't stop her. Back in her room, she slides to the floor, pressing her thighs together against the ache he left behind. Her body throbs with denied need, every nerve ending screaming for his touch. Her nightgown is ruined, damp, and despair fills her. She might have fled upstairs, but she can't outrun the fire in her blood or the way her body begs to submit to him. Can't escape the certainty that something fundamental has shifted between them. Something that makes her wolf howl, not for freedom, but for chains of an entirely different kind. The line crackles with static. Jill's voice finally breaks through after 2 weeks of silence.
Sweat beads on Alec's forehead despite the chill in the cabin. He hasn't felt right since they arrived, like his blood is running too hot.
Hopefully his little sister won't notice. Jesus, you sound terrible, Jill says, noticing immediately. Are you sick? Alec's growl cuts her off, surprising them both. His wolf is closer to the surface lately, harder to control. What the heck was that? She demands, recovering from her surprise. Did you just growl? And where are you? He forces a grin she can't see. Enjoying luxury accommodations, he replies, attempting to sound casual, though it comes out strained, like he's been snarling, which he has. Every time he catches Talia's scent or has to chase her down, his wolf rises with barely contained violence. Why do you sound so tense? What even is this job? His sister presses. Alec, tell me what's going on. Nothing. Don't worry about it.
It's all under control, he cuts her off, wiping his brow, jaw clenched as another thud from above makes his wolf surge forward. The possessive snarl building in his chest is barely stifled. Talia, she's probably plotting another escape. She's tried everything these past weeks. The kitchen window, he caught her halfway through, his fever spiking with the contact. The back door during a storm, she made it 10 feet before he tackled her, his wolf howling with triumph as she squirmed beneath him. The damn chimney. He laughed until he had to pin her down, her scent mixing with his own in a way that blurred his vision. His claws dig into his palm, drawing blood. Each capture ends the same, his hands on her, his wolf fighting to break free. Alec forces himself to stop letting her up when she yields, finally tasting that spot behind her ear that makes her whimper. Alec, your breathing sounds off. Jill's voice snaps him out of it. Alec blinks, forcing his wolf down. He's burning up, his shirt sticking to his skin with fever sweat. 2 weeks of chasing Talia, subduing her, breathing in that scent, wild honey, spring rain, something feminine, have left him on edge, his fangs dropping with raw need. It's fine, he growls, though even he can hear the lie in his voice. You don't sound fine. You're in trouble, aren't you? It's handled, Alec snaps, but his focus fractures as another wave of Talia's scent drifts from upstairs, stronger now, tinged with the same heat that's been driving him mad. You shouldn't have gone to him. Jill's panic barely registers over the pounding in his head. That man is dangerous, Alec. You don't know What else was I supposed to do, Jill? You were dying, Alec snaps, pinching the bridge of his nose. Look, just stay put. Trust me on this. I'm making the problem disappear, or trying to. But all he can think about is Talia's skin under his hands, the way she arches into his grip, how she bares her throat without even realizing it. His wolf thrashes, remembering each capture. You don't sound like yourself, Alec, Jill protests. A low snarl rips from his throat, feral enough that he has to hold the phone away from his ear. I'll be fine. It's going to be fine. The words come out guttural, inhuman. He hasn't seen Talia today, but her scent is everywhere, feeding his fever. Each breath fills his lungs with want, memories blurring into fantasies that make his fangs ache. Her body pressed against the wall, but this time he doesn't stop. Her beneath him in the snow, but this time he claims her. Her fighting his grip, but this time she submits completely, offering everything his wolf craves. The need burns through him like poison, worse each day. His wolf is going mad with it, this desperate hunger to possess, to mark. You're freaking me out, Jill whispers. Please, just tell me where Alec ends. He ends the call with a snarl, claws puncturing the phone case. Upstairs, Talia's heartbeat drums in rhythm with his fever-pitched pulse. The realization hits Talia as she watches snowflakes spiral past her window. 3 weeks. 3 weeks, and no sign of Graham or the pack. She traces the mountain peaks in the distance and sighs. She's in Red Mane territory now, certain of it. These are the ancestral lands of her intended's oldest enemies, where centuries of blood feuds have carved borders deeper than the valleys between their territories. The war between Graham's pack and the Red Manes has simmered for generations, an endless dance of territorial disputes and power plays. Her engagement to Graham had been strategic, a show of strength meant to pressure the Red Manes, to remind them that while open warfare hadn't broken out in years, Graham's influence was growing. And now here she is, deep in enemy territory, caught in the very game she was meant to help win. She should feel betrayed by Graham's absence, or fear for her life, but instead, all she feels is an unsettling calm. Graham's absence brings a different kind of restlessness, a need to prove herself, to show she is more than a political pawn moved across territory lines, more than a prize to be claimed or bargained for in this ancient feud. Talia has learned her captor's rhythms like a dance she can't stop performing. Every dawn, he steps outside to make his mysterious call, jaw tightening in that way that makes the scar near his temple more pronounced. He cooks at irregular hours, but always hums under his breath when he does, some old melody she's caught herself mimicking. He barely sleeps, and only then does he lock her door, as if he doesn't trust himself during those vulnerable hours. She's memorized other things, too. Details she tells herself are tactical, but feel more like indulgence. How his forest green eyes catch gold in certain light. The way his hands flex when she enters a room. That half smile that appears when she says something particularly defiant. His scent changes around her, pine and smoke, deepening to something darker. Something that makes her wolf preen when their gazes meet. His pupils blow wide, hunger written in every taut line of his body. He wants me, she thinks, and her wolf purrs at the knowledge. It's a weapon she can use, a weakness to exploit. She ignores how her own scent spikes when he's near, how her skin burns at the memory of his touch. She has to escape, has to leave, before the way he looks at her becomes more compelling than freedom, before his scent feels more like home than her own packlands, before this growing heat between them consumes them both. Use it against him, she tells herself firmly. It's your only chance. The migraine claws behind Alec's eyes as he heads to the living room, a familiar torment now, one that only eases in Talia's presence. These past weeks, the pain has grown worse. Muscles cramping, skin too tight, wolf howling for contact. The distance between them feels physical, an ache that intensifies until he seeks her out, finding excuses to be near her. He suspects she feels it too, sees it in the way she engineers their encounters. Her escape attempts have become less about freedom and more about forcing his hand on her. His wolf pines at the memory of each capture, how she fights less and yields more, how her scent spikes with something far sweeter than fear. How will he react when his employers finally want a retriever? His claws emerge at the mere idea, his wolf howling with possessive rage. Mine, it snarls, though he has no right to claim her. Alec pauses in the doorway. He hadn't expected to see Talia tonight, certainly not stretched out by the fire. Her cheeks are heated from the flames, the light painting her skin in warm, flickering tones. Her hair is wet. She must have just showered. And water drips down the elegant line of her neck, purling on the curve of her breasts.
Alec clears his throat. There's a nearly empty bottle beside her, and the slight haze in her eyes tells him she's had her fill. You planning on finishing the entire thing by yourself or what? He reaches for it on instinct, more to prevent her from getting too intoxicated than because he actually craves a drink, a silly sentiment, one that the girl perceives much too easily. Oh, she pouts, eyes gleaming with amusement. I didn't know you cared. I don't, he mutters, but Talia knows better. She's grown quite good at reading him. It's unsettling, not necessarily unpleasant being seen, but most times inconvenient. It makes lying to her all the more difficult. She smiles at him, settles further into her chair, and tilts her head slightly, exposing the delicate line of her throat. Are we ever going to address the elephant in the room? She asks, teasing, her voice low and challenging. Alec clenches his jaw, willing himself to keep his distance, but she just smiles, giving him a look that's almost coy. Suddenly, her gaze snaps to his face, like she's trying to decipher something. He watches as resolution settles upon her features, leaving him confused. She stands up, swaying a little but determined, brushing against him as she passes. Her scent lingers, rooting him in place. She presses play on a small CD player, and music fills the room. I love this song, Talia squeals, her eyes gleaming with childlike excitement that shouldn't be so endearing. She begins to move, rolling her hips, hands drifting over her own arms and shoulders. Every movement is inviting, and he can't look away. What are you doing? He asks, his voice low, rough. Having fun, she replies, her smile deepening, playful and taunting. She turns her back to him, her hands sliding up her sides languidly, drawing his gaze along every curve. I noticed you, Talia says, eyes closed, at the bar, watching me. Her hips sway as she closes the distance between them, pushing Alec back onto a chair. She straddles him, letting herself settle against his body. He never takes his eyes off her as she wiggles into his lap, defiant. What are you doing? He whispers. Her eyes glint and she leans in, her mouth brushing his, the faintest hint of contact. I thought it was obvious. He can feel her heat, smell her need, and he's lost. His hands settle on her waist almost instinctively. You want me, don't you? She moves her hips precisely, tearing a growl from him. Don't lie. I can feel it. Her lips cover his before he can finish, and all his senses are captured by her. Her smell, the softness of her skin, the taste of booze on her tongue. She puts her hands behind his neck, pressing her body closer, moving those damn hips again. He grips her thighs roughly, pulling her closer, biting her lower lip, but she doesn't seem to mind. In fact, she melts against him, her lips parting beneath his, gasping softly as her fingers tangle in his hair, urging him on. His fingers slip higher up her thigh, and she moans, needy against his mouth, sliding her own hands under his shirt. She whispers against his ear, her voice laced with urgency. Amid the wild rush, he feels it, an odd prickle against his mind, fleeting thoughts hazy with desire, but underlaid with purpose. The suspicion is distant, drowned by the need to claim, to possess. His wolf won't let him pull back, not when she's finally submitting so beautifully, not when her taste and scent promise everything he's been craving. She's wrapped around him, her mouth warm and urgent against his, and he's sinking, unable to stop. Then a sharp sting at his neck snaps through the haze. He catches the look in her eyes, triumph mixed with something softer, almost resembling guilt. Realization hits him like a punch to the gut, but his strength is fading fast, the edges of his world darkening. She's the last thing he sees before darkness consumes him completely. The syringe clatters to the floor. Talia watches him slump in the chair, her wolf howling in protest, clawing at her insides as if being torn apart. His betrayed expression burns behind her eyelids, forest green eyes widening in realization before the drugs pulled him under. She can still taste him on her lips, still feel the phantom press of his fangs against her throat. This was the plan, she reminds herself fiercely. She'd had the syringe hidden in the chair cushion, orchestrated everything perfectly. Except she hadn't meant to get lost in his touch, hadn't expected his kisses to be so addictively fierce. Her body still thrums with denied need, skin burning where his hands gripped her. She feels branded, marked. Think of Graham, of the pack. What if her intended catches her? Kidnappers sent by the rival pack scheme would succeed. Their alliance would crumble. She touches her neck where his fangs had scraped, wondering if she'll carry his mark despite herself. Yet this guilt crushing her chest has nothing to do with Graham and everything to do with the unconscious wolf before her. Her fingers trace his jaw without permission, remembering how it had clenched when she ground against him. He kidnapped you. He works for the Reds. He's the enemy. But her wolf doesn't care about pack politics. It urges her to curl into his lap, to bury her face in his neck where his scent is strongest. Just being this close makes her dizzy with want, pine and smoke and male that calls to something primal in her blood. Her wolf recognizes something in him that transcends loyalty, something that makes leaving feel like tearing herself in half. Pain lances behind her eyes as she forces herself away. Her legs shake with each step toward her room, her body physically rebelling at the distance. She changes quickly, grabbing her prepared pack with trembling hands. In the kitchen, she stuffs provisions inside, trying to ignore how each movement away from him feels wrong. His scent lingers on her skin, in her hair, making it impossible to think clearly. She should run, should take advantage of every second of his unconsciousness. Instead, she finds herself back at his side. Her fingers gently brushed his cheek. Even in unconsciousness, he affected her. The strong line of his jaw, the scar near his temple, she'd traced with her tongue minutes ago. Her wolf whined at the memory of his growls, how perfectly their bodies had fit together. "I'm sorry," she whispered, horrified to feel tears threatening. He's nothing, just her kidnapper, just the enemy. But she remembered his gentleness these past weeks, hidden beneath gruff commands, how he'd catch her during escape attempts with hands that could crush but chose to cradle instead. The lie tasted bitter on her tongue. She burst outside, gulping cold air like salvation. The storm whipped snow around her, perfect cover for escape. But nausea rolled through her in waves. Muscles screamed in protest with each step. Maybe she had drunk too much, though she'd barely touched the whiskey, only wanting him to think she was vulnerable. The distance between them stretched like a physical chain, each step more agonizing than the last. Her wolf paced frantically, howling to return to him, but she kept moving. She must. She wouldn't let her treacherous body force her into a bond with the enemy, with her kidnapper. Pain, that was Alec's first sensation. Then her lingering taste on his tongue, wild honey and betrayal. The fireplace held only ashes. Hours, she'd had hours. The leather chair still bore her shape, her scent, the ghost of her weight in his lap. An empty bottle lay toppled by the hearth, her staged vulnerability. Clever girl. His eyes snapped open. The room spun, wrong, empty. Darkness had fallen outside the windows. Everything felt wrong. She was gone. The realization hit like a physical blow. He stumbled to her room, drawn by instinct. Her clothes still lay scattered on the bed, silk nightgown twisted in the sheets, the closet door hanging open. Winter clothes missing. She'd planned this. He buried his face in the fabric, inhaling deeply. The scent soothed and tormented, made his wolf thrash with violent need. The kitchen next, cabinet doors left ajar. She'd taken provisions, enough for days. Smart, too smart. The migraine intensified with every discovery, becoming something darker, something that felt like his soul being torn away. His boots paced grooves in the hardwood, 3 steps, turn, 3 steps, like a caged animal. The walls closed in. Her scent surrounded him, mocking. Fury rose, irrational and primal. How dare she leave? How dare she? His claws pierced his palms, blood dripped onto the hardwood. The pain was nothing compared to this hollow ache where she should be. The shift tore through him, violent and necessary. He burst through the door into the bitter night. The storm had strengthened, snow whipping sideways, obscuring the tree line. But there, footprints leading north, already half filled with fresh powder. She'd favored her right leg, steps uneven, exhausted in pain. The thought made his wolf snarl. The mountain loomed ahead, a black mass against a starless sky. The landscape mirrored his rage. Stark, merciless, frozen pines cracking in the gale like gunshots. Branches reached like claws through the whirling snow. Snow blankets the trail as it weaves drunkenly between trees. She stumbles, catching herself against rough bark. Blood scents the air. She scratched her palm. Every mark of her suffering fuels his fury. The path she's chosen clings to the mountain's western face, where dense tree cover offers shelter from the wind and prying eyes. His clever, desperate mate. The storm works tirelessly to erase her passage, wind howling through crags above, bringing sheets of fresh powder. Temperatures plummet too fast, ice crystals forming in his fur, but the cold can't touch the fire in his blood. Nothing matters but finding her. His thoughts grow darker with each mile, more primal. What will he do when he catches her? Because he will catch her. His wolf knows no other outcome. The trail winds deeper into shadow. She struggles now, frequent stops, wavering steps. The distance between them burns like poison. Each leap through deepening snow feels like moving against fire, yet the pain only sharpens his determination. A flash of consciousness brushes his mind. Fear, confusion, pain mirroring his own. It makes his head spin, his wolf howl. She's close. Every muscle coils with predatory anticipation. His mate, his betrayer, his everything. The storm swallows his snarl as he pushes forward, letting instinct guide him toward her fading presence. Fresh tracks now, the scent of her tears freezing in bitter air. The wolf in him knows one truth. She belongs to him, with him. The human in him knows nothing so certain. Her scent grows stronger, her consciousness flickering like a dying flame. He runs faster, torn between rage and terror. The forest thins, an open clearing ahead where the mountain meets sky. What will he do when he reaches her? What will he do if he doesn't? The sound pounds in Talia's skull with each staggering step. His hands in her hair, his eyes intense and tender. Her pulse races, trying to pull her back to him. She forces herself forward. Keep moving. Prove your worth. Pain blazes through her like fire, leaving her shaky and weak. She stumbles, snow clawing at her ankles, wind slicing through her skin. None of it compares to the ache tearing her apart from within. With every inch of distance, she feels hollowed out. Fever blurs her vision. The world spins white and cold. Her legs give way, and she catches herself against a tree, his scent clinging to her like a ghost. She digs her claws into the bark, grounding herself through the pain. He's nothing, she tells herself. You're stronger than this. But her thoughts shatter like glass. The storm devours her tears as she staggers on. She does this for the pack, for Graham, for herself. Yet with each step, the agony intensifies, her wolf claws pleading to turn back. This isn't just guilt. Her wolf has known since their eyes first met, since that first touch sparked like wildfire, something ancient and unbreakable. Still, she pushes forward, determined to outrun this need that feels like dying. The mountains loom ahead as snow blinds her. She stumbles into an open field, barren of cover. Strange, crackling sounds echo beneath her feet as she steps onto the icy expanse. She pauses, then trudges on, torn between the fear of being caught and a desperate yearning to be found. His emotions, anger, fear, desperation, entwine with her own until she can no longer tell them apart. A powerful howl splits the air. She turns, heart racing, through snow-laden branches, and a massive wolf bursts into view, snarling, eyes locked on her. She knows it's him. She feels it in her bones. She freezes as ice cracks sharply beneath her feet. His eyes are furious. She whines involuntarily, hand reaching for him, but the ice gives way. The ground splinters with a thunderous crack. Gasping, she stumbles back as her foot plunges through, water rising cold and biting. The wolf stops at the lake's edge, a growl vibrating through the air. Their eyes meet, fear gripping her as the ice shifts again. Barely has she time to breathe before the ground shatters completely, and she's plunging down, ice swallowing her whole as dark water closes over her head. Jill squints at the crumpled map spread across her steering wheel, wondering for the 100th time if she's taken a wrong turn. Navigation isn't her strong suit. That's always been Alex's thing, along with cooking anything more complicated than microwave burritos. God, she misses the idiot. She almost wishes he were here, ruffling her hair despite her usual complaints. "Everything's fine, Squirt, just busy with work," he'd said on their last call. But Jill knows her brother's voice better than anyone. The strain in it, the careful way he'd chosen his words, it's the same tone he'd used years ago when they'd run out of food, trying to keep her from worrying. Some big brother he is, still trying to protect her while he's the one in trouble. The scent of lavender and sage hits her nose as she climbs out of the car, definitely witch territory. The neighborhood looks like something straight out of a Brady Bunch rerun, all perfect little houses with perfect little fences. Must be nice, having somewhere permanent to call home instead of living life through a rearview mirror. Her worn combat boots, scored from a thrift store and still her proudest find, scuff against the pristine sidewalk. Through the walls of the house she approaches, she picks up the sounds of children arguing, something about a stolen juice box. Normal kid problems, not the which motel takes cash and doesn't ask questions kind of problems she and Alex had grown up solving. The door swings open to reveal a witch who looks like she's lost a battle with a jar of applesauce. The sticky sweet smell mixes with her magic, fresh and wild like wind through summer trees. The witch's eyes narrow. "What do you want, shifter?" Her hands come up, magic crackling like static around her fingers. The stance is familiar. Alex always did the same, positioning himself between Jill and any threat, real or imagined. Jill's wolf bristles, but she tamps it down, starting a response. A territory dispute with a witch while her kids are home would land right at the top of Alex's list of the dumbest things Jill has ever done, alongside the time she tried to adopt a stray dog that turned out to be a coyote. "Please," Jill says, keeping her voice steady and her palms up, hoping to look as non-threatening as possible. "I just need information. I'm not here to cause trouble." Fear flickers across the witch's face as she tries to close the door. Jill wedges her boot in the gap, desperation making her reckless. "I'm a rogue," she exclaims. "I'm not with the local Alphas pack, I swear." Tears burn her eyes before she can stop them. A memory slams into her. Those cold eyes, the contract that had seemed so simple, the pain that followed, fire coursing through her veins. And now Alec is suffering the same fate because he stepped in to save her, as he always did. The witch's expression softens, maternal instinct apparently overriding caution. "How old are you?" 19, Jill lies, trying for confidence, but probably coming across more like a kid sneaking into an R-rated movie. The witch's knowing look suggests she doesn't buy it. "What do you want to know, kid?" "I need to know about a spell," Jill says, each word making her skin crawl. Her wolf whines uneasily at the wrongness of it. "One that kills someone if they don't do what they're told." The witch recoils as though Jill offered her a handful of wolf spine. "I don't know anything about that. No respectable witch would." "Please," Jill pleads, her desperation growing. "There has to be something. You're speaking of dark magic." The witch cuts her off, her voice sharp as glass. "The magic of the damned. I'll have no part in it." The door begins to close. "Wait, please." "My brother will die." Jill slams her palm against the wood, no longer caring how desperate she sounds. Alec is all she has left. Inside, a child starts crying. Silence stretches, broken only by the witch's soft murmuring to her children. Then comes a rustling, and a small white card slides under the door. "Go to this address," the witch says, her voice quieter now. "Ask for Madame Elena. She's the head of our coven. But kid, be careful what you go looking for. Some doors, once opened, can't be closed again." Jill snatches up the card, hope fluttering like a trapped bird in her chest. The address is for a shop 2 towns over. As she walks back to her car, the witch's warning lingers on the lavender-scented breeze. Her wolf paces restlessly, instincts screaming that she's treading on dangerous ground. But what choice does she have? That alpha may have forced Alec's loyalty, but he doesn't own hers. If there's even a chance of saving Alec, she'll walk through every door in hell to find it. She owes him that much. She was the one who made a deal with this dangerous alpha, gifted with what the witch had called the magic of the damned. Because of her, her brother was now stuck doing his bidding. The deathly fear that had gripped her when he pulled her from the lake still lingered, faint tremors running through her body despite the steam rising from the bathwater. She's bound to wake soon. He should leave. He should have left the moment he'd gotten her warm enough that the blue tinge left her lips. If he doesn't go now, he might do something inappropriate, like pet her hair. But his feet remain stubbornly rooted to the bathroom floor. The thought of walking away feels like barbed wire tightening around his lungs. Then Talia's eyes flutter open, and leaving is no longer an option. For a long moment, they just stare at each other, Her confusion ripples through him like a stone dropped in still water, followed by a wave of relief so intense it weakens his knees. She's relieved he's here. The realization is intoxicating and terrifying because the fact that he can feel her emotions at all is another nail in the coffin of what he's been trying to deny. Apparently, the universe isn't done laughing at him yet. "Your name is Alec," she says suddenly, her voice quiet, more observation than question, as if she's finally allowing herself to acknowledge something she's suspected all along. "Yes," he replies, his words rough like gravel in his throat. She sighs, turning her head away. "And you're my mate, aren't you?" Steam curls around her face as she speaks, her voice eerily calm. Christ, something inside him wants to snarl, to run far and fast from the truth that's been circling them like a tightening noose. His mate? The woman he'd been paid to kidnap, to use as a pawn in another man's game. If there's a cosmic joke here, he's definitely the punchline. "I suppose," he manages gruffly. A snort escapes her. "You suppose?" She sinks lower in the water. "Being away from you nearly killed me, and I can read your thoughts sometimes, feel what you feel." Her voice trails off, troubled. Before he can stop himself, Alec reaches out and smooths her wet hair back from her forehead. The contact sends a jolt through them both. "Does it not feel the same for you?" Talia's eyes meet his again, vulnerability written across her face. Beautiful, he thinks, and feels her catch the edge of it through their strengthening bond. Damn it, she is beautiful. The memory of her absence is like acid in his veins. He remembers the blind panic when he realized she was gone, like having a limb amputated, except the phantom pain was everywhere at once. Watching her disappear beneath the surface had felt like having his heart ripped out. He'd felt her consciousness dimming, a light being slowly extinguished, and known with absolute certainty, if she died, he would follow. "You should get some rest," he manages, feeling terribly adrift. He turns away before she can see whatever's written across his face, closing the bathroom door behind him with trembling hands. "You have to let me go, Alec," Talia calls after him. "If you don't, our bond will only grow, and then there will be no turning back." "I can't," Alec snaps, because the thought of it makes her right, of course, but he really can't. "Whatever your employer is paying you, my fiancé will double gladly," Talia insists, pressing closer. Her wide blue eyes turn imploring, cutting straight through Alex's heart. "He can offer you protection," she insists. "If you're afraid of retribution, we can make sure your boss, your alpha, can't touch you." "My alpha is your boss, Talia," Alex says, lowering his gaze. The hard truth of it all becomes too horrifying to bear. As his words settle, he feels Talia's confusion, horror, and denial swelling, making everything worse. Mostly, though, it hits Alex that he has helped someone close to her betray his own mate, and there's no escaping that. What Talia asks for chokes him. The panicked rhythm of her heart pounds in his ears. "Graham Norfolk, your fiancé, he's who I'm working for," Alex repeats. "He paid me to take you." Talia shifts in the water, and when Alex forces himself to look at her, he immediately regrets it. "I'm sorry," he murmurs quietly. "You're lying," Talia snaps. "I'm not," Alex replies, meeting her eyes. "You know I'm not." Talia looks as if she's been slapped. It might as well have been true, for it would likely hurt less. "Why would my own fiancé?" She trails off, realization dawning across her features. "Because of the Redmond clan. That's why we're hiding on their territory, isn't it? So he can blame my abduction on them. rally other packs to his side, and justify inflicting retribution. Her mouth twists with disgust. Perhaps, Alex shrugs, your actions could start a war. And yet you didn't ask questions, Talia barks, her eyes wild with sudden fury. Well, if not me, he'd have found somebody else to carry out his plans. Don't blame me for all your pack politics, princess. I'm a rogue. None of this concerns me. Oh, sure, Talia sneers. None of this is your fault. Keep telling yourself that. Alex bites back his retort. He understands her anger. If he were being honest with himself, he never would have taken the job if not to save Jill's life. And if he hadn't pieced together Graham's true intentions behind the kidnapping, it wasn't just because he didn't care about pack politics, it was because he'd done his best not to think too much about it. Look, he says gruffly, your alpha knows where you are, and he'll eventually come to your rescue. You can tell him how you feel about all this then, but in the meantime, there's nothing I can do. Too guilty to wait for her response, he flees from the bathroom, his wolf howling in protest at putting even that much distance between them. He makes it exactly 12 steps before stopping, his body refusing to go further, like a dog hitting the end of its leash. Cursing under his breath, he slides down the wall outside her room and sits on the floor. Close enough to hear her steady breathing, close enough to feel the warm hum of her presence lingering in the back of his mind. She's alive. She's safe. For now. It will have to be enough. For the first time in her life, Talia has no idea what she's supposed to do. She's been raised, taught to expect certain things, to act in specific ways, but now nothing feels certain anymore. All amounts to nothing. The man she is meant to mate with, the one who was supposed to help bring peace and prosperity to her pack, is most likely aiming to use her and her people for war. Instead of protecting her, he's had her kidnapped. Meanwhile, her kidnapper, her enemy, the one fate has bound her to, offers a twisted kind of logic. She knows she should convince Alec to let her speak to Graham so she can persuade him to bring her back home before she and her captor become so entangled they can no longer separate. But she doesn't want to go to Graham. She doesn't want to face what his actions mean or examine how their tentative alliance might crumble when he realizes Talia has found her fated mate. Can she even leave Alec now? Does she even want to? The memory of that bone-deep agony when she tried to escape still haunts her. But Alec is avoiding her. He doesn't care about what might happen to her and her pack. He doesn't care at all. Talia feels stuck, paralyzed. A day passes, then another, during which they avoid each other like the plague. Thinking becomes harder, as if her thoughts are wrapped in cotton. Talia believes she hasn't fully recovered from the lake. It feels like she's growing feverish. It's absurd, because shifters don't get sick. Yet there's a slight dizziness that softens the edges of the world, a shimmer of heat beneath her skin that comes and goes like waves on a shore, until the ebb and flow become one inescapable pull. Her wolf seeks Alec out instinctively, like a flower turning toward the sun. The word mate feels foreign on her tongue, but right in her soul, as if it's always been there, waiting to be discovered. They dance around each other in careful orbits, a brush of hands when passing, coffee cups clinking, knees touching under the dinner table, fingers lingering on shoulders just a moment too long. Days blur together, the fever grows. Her skin feels too tight, too hot, like she's being slowly consumed from within. Restlessness builds in both of them. She can feel Alec's growing discomfort echoing through their bond, mirroring her own. There's no escape. Lying in bed, she realizes it's too late now. The world swims in a haze of heat and need, her thoughts scattered like leaves in a storm. Where is Alec, she wonders hazily, not knowing or caring what time it is. All she cares about is that he isn't here. Her skin burns, sensitive against the damp sheets twisting around her like bonds. A whimper escapes her throat, high, needy, desperate. Through their bond, she catches flashes of Alec's consciousness, anger, fear, and something wild that makes her heart race. Silly mate, she thinks dimly, fighting what we both need. He'd feel better if he'd just come to her, let her soothe away his worries with touches and kisses. The thought trails off as she stumbles from the bed, barely registering the cool air against her fevered skin. Clothes seem like a distant, unnecessary concept. All that matters is following his scent, rich and dark, like earth after rain, making her mouth water. A familiar warmth guides her through the darkened hallway, each step filling her senses with a sweet, dizzying rush of his presence. Where is he? Why isn't he here? She finds herself in his room, a sanctuary of his scent, so perfectly him that it draws a moan from her throat. She really shouldn't. She tries to stop herself, grabbing one of his shirts, telling herself it will do, aiming to leave, but then she sinks onto his bed, burying herself in sheets that smell of pine and smoke and male. She shivers as unbearable pleasure courses through her. It feels so right, their scents mingling, his and hers, intoxicating. She seeks more, rubbing against them, savoring the subtle friction. It sparks a thrill that spirals into a restless ache, deep and insistent, and she fully lets herself sink into the sensation. There's no turning back. Why isn't he here, though? She wonders, confused. Closing her eyes, she reaches out, imagining his hands on her, the roughness of his palms against her skin, the imagined sensation of his teeth on her neck. A sharp cry tears from her lips. She arches her back, her hands fisting the sheets. Each shift of her hips, each slide of her fingers, it's as if he's pulling her close, pressing against her. She gasps, a strangled sound of pure longing. Somewhere in the house, she feels him fighting a losing battle against the same primal need consuming her. Their shared desire builds like a storm about to break. Alec's fist connects with the tree trunk, bark splintering beneath his knuckles, again, but it's not enough to drown out the need burning through his veins. His breath comes in harsh pants, crystallizing in the frigid air as he whirls. His wolf snarls, wanting more pain, more blood, anything to distract from the pull of her. But it's useless. 5 miles of running through snow-laden forests hadn't helped. Neither had picking fights with innocent trees. Caught between duty and desire, he knows what will happen to them both if he gives in. He's seen what happens to those who betray Graham Norfolk. The memory of his sister's screams echoes in his mind, the way she'd writhed in agony, blood streaming from her nose and ears as the Alpha's curse took hold. But logic is slipping away like sand through his fingers, replaced by a bone-deep certainty that having Talia, even for a moment, would be worth any price. He'd sworn then that he'd never bow to anyone, never let himself be owned. Yet he'd bowed to an Alpha to save his sister, trading his freedom for her life. And now he thinks he'll bow down to Talia, even if it costs him his life. Because her thoughts brush against his mind, and she's thinking of him. At first, it's distant, a soft sensation woven into his thoughts. But then it feels like her body is writhing beneath his own hands, like he's drinking in the soft gasps of pleasure escaping her lips. Desire slams through him, raw and unfiltered. Oh, he tries to shut it out, but she's there, vivid, her soft, needy sounds threading through his mind. He can feel her everywhere, feel her hands roaming her body, each touch clawing at his restraint. It shreds with every beat of her need. His breathing shallows, turning to ragged pants. Something in him snaps. Every thought, every rational piece of himself crumbles as he's overtaken by a deep, primal drive to claim. He's drawn forward, muscles coiled and ready, every nerve honed to a singular purpose. All he wants, all he needs is her. His mind sharpens, his vision narrows. He has to have her, feel her, make her yield. Her scent hits him like a physical blow the moment he opens the door, sweet and wild and his. She sprawls across his bed, all pale skin and golden hair, looking like every fantasy he's never allowed himself to have. His wolf snarls in approval at the sight of her, pleasure rippling through him at the way her hips move against the sheets. "Need a hand, darling?" The words are growled. He's already moving forward. In 2 strides, he has her. The kiss is all teeth and need, tasting like blood and possession. Something in him howls, "Mine, mine, mine." Her fingers pull at his hair until he pins her, settling between her thighs like he was made to be there, which he was, because she belongs to him. When his mouth finds her throat, through their bond, he feels her pleasure spiral higher, drawing his own along with it. The silk of her skin, the thunder of her pulse, the way she gasps his name like it's sacred, all of it consumes him. Their shared need builds like a storm, pleasure echoing between them until he can't tell where his ends and hers begins. His fangs scrape against her throat, right where her pulse beats strongest, and she shivers. "Yes," he manages, though he doesn't think he could take no for an answer. But her nods are frantic, her eyes glazed with desire, lips parted on breathless gasps. "Yes, yes, please." When his fangs pierce her flesh, the world explodes into light and sensation. The mating bond snaps into place with the taste of her blood, the rush of completion, and the way she screams his name. The shop sits wedged between a laundromat and a defunct video rental store, its windows crowded with more floral patterns than Jill has ever seen in her life. She stands there for a moment, squinting at the pink and red roses climbing across curtains that look like they were stolen from some old lady's living room. Who needs this many flowers? But she isn't here to judge interior decoration choices. She's here for answers about dark magic and to help her brother. The thought sits heavy in her gut, an anchor dragging her forward as she approaches the door. Her fingers brush against the business card in her pocket, already worn soft at the edges from how many times she's checked it to make sure she has the right address. The bell above the door chimes as she steps inside, and Jill freezes mid-step, her wolf bristling at the sudden shift in reality. Gone are the flowery nightmares and delicate tea tables. Instead, she finds herself in what looks like the aftermath of a library having a midlife crisis. Dark wooden shelves tower toward a ceiling she can barely see, their edges swallowed by shadows. Softened by dust, books are crammed into every available space, some stacked so precariously they seem to defy gravity. Despite the fact that it was definitely nighttime just moments ago, golden morning light streams through tall windows she swears weren't there before. She whirls around, her enhanced reflexes making her movement sharp and precise. Outside, the sun hangs high in a cloudless sky, as if night never existed at all. "We're closed. Come back tomorrow." Jill spins toward the voice, her wolf instantly alert. A young woman stands between two towering shelves, armed with what has to be the world's most ineffective broom, given the state of the place. She has strawberry blonde hair, clear blue eyes, and everything about her screams harmless human, from her paint-splattered jeans to the pencil stuck behind her ear. "Are you Madame Elena?" Jill asks, though she already knows the answer. The woman blows a strand of hair from her face. "Do I look like a Madame anything to you?" Jill has to admit she has a point. Unless Madame Elena is really into vintage band t-shirts and has a thing for mismatched socks, this definitely isn't her. But then, who is she? And more importantly, how did Jill just walk into her store? "Look," the woman says, "I might be young, but typically, coming here doesn't involve complete architectural overhauls." The strawberry blonde frowns. "What?" Realization dawns on her features. "Oh, I get it. You were portaled here. Magic brought you to the store because of your strong desire to make a wish." Jill blinks. "Magic?" The blonde nods. "Yes, magic." A man's voice cuts in, dripping with sarcasm. "Please, Iris is about as magical as a microwave dinner." Jill turns toward the voice and nearly steps back. The man who enters seems to pull shadows with him, tall and lean, with eyes like green glass that catch the light wrong, too bright, too sharp. Her wolf's hackles rise instantly. This man has magic, all right, and it clings to him like an oil slick, dark and slippery. It reminds her of Graham, of how the air had felt heavy and wrong just before her blood started to burn. "Iris," the man drawls, "what exactly have you done to my store?" Iris waves her useless broom at the chaos around them. "Cleaning it." "This store can't be cleaned. It likes dust." "Well, why haven't you told me that, Adrian?" "I have, Iris, multiple times." Jill clears her throat, then does it again louder when they continue their domestic squabble. "Oh!" Iris brightens. "Adrian, this is, well, I don't know your name, but she's here to make a wish." Adrian's attention shifts to Jill, and something in her wants to bare her teeth. Her wolf doesn't like this man's aura one bit. Even if, and the thought catches her off guard, his face isn't exactly hard to look at. "I don't want to make any wishes," Jill says quickly. "I just need—" Information about black magic fills the air as Adrian moves closer, his cat-like eyes narrowing while he studies her. He smells of old books and something burnt. When he stops mere inches away, looming over her, Jill has to fight the urge to step back. "Isn't she a bit young for you?" Iris asks dryly. Adrian ignores her, tilting his head as he examines Jill like she's a particularly fascinating specimen. "There are traces of my magic on you," he says. A shiver slides down Jill's spine. Her suspicions were right. This man practices dark magic. Whatever he is, whatever he does, it can't be good. She takes a nervous step back. "Adrian, what did you do to her?" Iris's voice loses its playful edge. "Nothing that I know of." His eyes haven't left Jill's face. "Why are you here, little wolf? What do you want to know?" Jill hesitates, but Alex's face flashes in her mind. Whatever this man is, he might be her only chance. "My brother's in danger because of me." "He got tangled up with a dangerous alpha." "Dangerous alpha?" Adrian asks while Iris begins muttering under her breath about yet another reckless decision. "We needed money," Jill blurts out, words spilling in a rush. "I wanted to help for once instead of always relying on Alec. There was this alpha looking for a rogue to retrieve someone from another territory. the pay was insane. He made me swear not to tell anyone about the job, not even if I got caught. I didn't get caught, but I failed. And when I told Alec about it to ask for help, I started getting sick, so sick. It felt like my blood was boiling, like it was trying to escape my body. Adrian pinches the bridge of his nose. His already pale complexion grows paler still. "Do you know what kind of magic this is?" Jill asks desperately. "My brother begged the Alpha to save me. Said he'd do anything. I got better, but now Alex is gone on some mission, and I know he's in trouble." "Stop." Adrian's voice cuts through her rambling. He looks tired suddenly, ancient, despite his youthful features. "I know exactly what kind of magic this is, and if your brother made a deal with who I think he did..." His gaze grows distant, like he's seeing far beyond the dusty shelves and morning light. Something in his expression makes Iris step closer to him, her hand twitching as though she wants to reach out but knows better. Jill doesn't hesitate, though. "Please," she presses, stepping closer despite her instincts screaming at her to run. Shadows around Adrian deepen. They're everywhere now. How had she missed them before? "You need to leave," Iris says firmly, moving between them. Jill would have been touched if it didn't feel like she was shielding Adrian rather than protecting Jill from him. "Graham Norfolk." Adrian's voice cuts like a blade. "The Alpha you're speaking of, is it Graham Norfolk?" The name hits Jill like a physical blow. A bitter smile twists Adrian's mouth. "You could say that, and you're right to be afraid. He's not just dangerous, he's lethal. Betrayal means death." Jill's voice sounds small even to her own ears as she asks, "What do you mean?" Adrian meets her eyes. He has the power to create binding contracts. Break your word to him, and the magic turns your body against you, like your blood trying to boil its way free. Jill's hands start shaking as the pieces click into place. Her failed mission, the searing pain, Alex's desperate deal. But shifters can't. "I've never heard of any wolf having that kind of power." Adrian's laugh is hollow. "Of course not. It's not his power at all." Something cold settles in Jill's stomach. "Then whose is it?" Adrian's gaze locks onto hers. "Mine. Graham Norfolk has that power because I gave it to him." The silence that follows is deafening. Even the dust motes seem to freeze in the air. Talia feels Alex's words rumble against the crown of her head. His earlier contentment gives way to a tense groan. Talia isn't sure what time it is or even what day it is. Not that she cares. She feels too good, warm and safe, pressed against Alex's bare chest. Their newly sealed bond glows bright and soothing in her mind, letting her feel not just his skin against hers, but the pleased, sad hum of his thoughts, threaded through with possessive pride. Or at least it had been until this moment. She turns in his arms, melting at the sight of his face, one she's growing to know intimately and can't tire of studying. His pronounced pout makes her laugh. "I'm serious," he insists. "He's going to kill me dead." "And what a shame that would be," Talia teases, writhing against him and deliberately pressing a light, suggestive kiss to his lips. Alec melts into it despite himself. "Well, nice to know you're not the tiniest bit concerned about my impending doom." She straddles his hips, dropping her mouth to the claiming mark on his neck. His whole body relaxes instantly, predictably, and she smiles against his skin. "I'm very concerned," she murmurs, nipping gently. "You're not," he groans as she kisses the mark again. Talia loves the sounds he makes when she kisses him there. Loves every sound he makes, really. Loves him, which is insane because she barely knows him. She knows his body now, can feel some of his thoughts and emotions through their bond, but there's still so much to learn. But then again, she has time for that, doesn't she? "What are your parents like?" she asks, teeth grazing his collarbone. "Dead," Alec quips. Heat rushes to her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispers, pressing an apologetic kiss to his lips. The simple contact ignites something desperate in them both. His hands slide up her bare back, pulling her closer as his tongue traces the seam of her lips. She opens for him with a soft moan, shivering as his fingers thread through her hair, angling her head to deepen the kiss. The bond between them pulses with shared pleasure, every touch magnified. His other hand skims down her side, mapping the curve of her waist, her hip, a fire in its wake. She arches into his touch, drinking in the taste of him, the intoxicating mix of wild forest and something uniquely Alec that makes her head spin. When his teeth graze her bottom lip, she whimpers, hands splaying across the hard planes of his chest, feeling his heart thundering beneath her palm. When they break apart, she tries again, breathless. "So, any siblings?" He draws back slightly, smirking. "Yes, let's review my entire family tree." She smacks his arm playfully, but catches a flash of worry in his thoughts. A name, Jill. Her head snaps up immediately. Who's Jill? The jealousy in her voice makes him laugh outright. "My sister," he replies, thumbs tracing circles on her hips. Talia relaxes, settling more comfortably against him. "I was raised by my uncle," she offers. "His daughters are like sisters to me." She loses her train of thought as Alec's hands begin to roam, his touch leaving trails of heat on her skin. "Maybe," he murmurs against her neck, "we could enjoy this while we still can, without any mention of sisters." She catches the underlying worry in his tone. "It'll be fine," she assures him, running her fingers through his hair. "I'll talk to Graham. He'll understand." Alec's skeptical look makes her press on. "Everyone knows there's nothing you can do against fated bonds. Besides," she adds with a hint of steel in her voice, "it's the least he could do for having me kidnapped." "Leaving my mate alive." His response is lost as desire begins to cloud her thoughts again. Their bond amplifies everything until she can't tell where her arousal ends and his begins. His mouth finds hers, and she surrenders to the heat building between them, all thoughts of Graham forgotten in the sanctuary of their shared pleasure. Adrian reaches for a bottle tucked between two ancient tomes, pouring amber liquid into a glass that materializes from nowhere. His hands shake slightly, though his voice remains steady. "Graham Norrie came to me when he'd just become alpha, paranoid, power-hungry, convinced his own pack would tear out his throat the moment he turned his back. And you decided to help him with that?" Jill can't keep the accusation from her voice. Adrian's laugh is bitter as he downs his drink. "He wished for a way to ensure no one could ever betray him, so I gave him one." "You don't say," Jill snaps. "Talk about having the ultimate alpha command. Whatever Graham wants, he gets, or the person he gave his order to dies." "And what did you take in exchange?" Iris asks softly, her eyes fixed on Adrian's long fingers, which clench around his glass. "My humanity." The words fall like lead between them. "The ability to feel empathy, remorse. I stripped it all away." "You what?" Jill whirls from where she's been pacing between the shelves, sending a stack of books tumbling. "You're telling me you gave unlimited power to a paranoid alpha and then made him incapable of basic human emotion?" Iris steps forward. "You don't understand." "Oh, I understand plenty." Jill knows she should probably shut up. Yelling at someone powerful enough to make Graham Norrie lethal isn't exactly smart, but she can't stop herself. "You handed a loaded gun to a power-hungry douche and took away his conscience. Do you have any idea how many people you've put in danger? How many lives you've ruined?" Adrian just watches her, something ancient and tired in his eyes as he pours another drink. "I have no choice," he says simply. Iris cuts in, her voice sharp. "When someone comes seeking a wish, he has to grant it. Then he'll grant mine." Jill rounds on Adrian. "You'll help me fix this. Grant me a wish, for a price." Adrian sets down his glass, exchanging a look with Iris. "Whatever you love most," he warns, "and believe me, it's not usually what you expect." Graham didn't think he'd lose his humanity. Jill blinks. This doesn't sound very promising, but it's not like she has a choice here. "Fine," she says. "Anything. Just cancel Graham's wish. That's what I want." "I can't." Adrian's words draw slowly, like they cost him. "A wish, once granted, can't be taken back. Only death breaks the magic." "Whose death?" Jill demands. "Graham's." Adrian's smile is razor thin. "And mine. Immortal, remember? Meaning I don't age or die." The magician gives her a dispassionate look. "Care to find out?" he asks, meeting her eyes. Jill's legs give out, and she sinks onto a nearby chair that definitely wasn't there a moment ago. Alec. Whatever Graham's making her brother do, if Alec fails, Adrian won't meet her gaze, staring instead into his empty glass like it holds answers. The reality of it hits Jill like a physical blow. Alec is trapped, bound by magic she let him into, and there's nothing she can do, nothing she can think of anyway. Alec flips another pancake, letting the familiar motion ground him while his thoughts drift to Talia sleeping upstairs. Their bond hums contentedly, still new and raw like a fresh bruise, the good kind, the type that comes from nights spent learning each other's bodies, from finally giving in to what they both needed. His wolf stirs at the memory of her submission, her trust, the way she fits against him like she was made for him. But reality is a cold bastard. Sooner or later, they'll have to face Graham Norrick. Talia thinks it'll be simple, that Graham will understand, that he'll let them go. She doesn't know the man like Alec does. Doesn't know how he orchestrated her kidnapping, how he somehow poisoned Jill when she'd failed him, then dangled the cure in exchange for Alec's loyalty. The memory of his sister's scream still haunts him, along with the calculating look in Graham's eyes as he'd offered the deal. The satellite phone's harsh ring cuts through his thoughts like a knife. Alec tenses, realizing he hasn't checked in for days. It's only the Red Moon Pack territory keeping Graham's men from storming the cabin to verify their package is secure. His wolf bristles as he answers, protective instincts surging. The voice that greets him nearly makes him drop the phone. "Hello, Alec." In all his time here, Graham Norrick has never called directly. Cold dread pools in Alec's stomach. He notices her descending the stairs from the corner of his eye. She's wearing one of his shirts, looking soft and vulnerable. The sight stirs something primal in him, his wolf instinct urging him to shield her from the world. She waves, silently mouthing, "Who is it?" He ignores her, focusing instead on the voice on the other end of the line. "I'll assume everything is still going according to plan," Graham says, his tone laced with thinly veiled warning. Talia approaches, reaching for the phone, but Alec steps back, shaking his head. "Everything's fine," he replies tersely. Graham's pleased response sends a chill down Alex's spine. So, Talia's still there then? It isn't a question. Alex shoots her a sharp look as she tries to grab the receiver. "And about Talia, sir, I kill her." The words hit like a physical blow. His world narrows to a pinpoint. His wolf howls in denial. Hope flickers faintly that he misheard, but Graham's voice cuts through coldly. "You heard me." The detached amusement in his tone makes the command even more chilling. Clean up all your prints around the house and dump her body by the side of the mountain. I expect you back here by this evening for debriefing. I won't, Alex barks out, but the line goes dead before he can finish. Static fills his ears, or maybe it's the shock of being ordered to murder his mate. What's happening? Talia whispers, picking up on his distress through their bond. Concern etches itself across her features. This wasn't our deal, Alex insists, his voice strained. Get it done, or you won't live past sunrise, Graham growls before the call ends abruptly. Alex stands frozen, Talia's bright blue eyes wide with growing fear. Her voice trembles as she asks again, "What's going on?" The words catch in his throat. She reaches for him, but he holds up a hand, mind racing. They need to run. Call Jill. Get her somewhere safe. Pack your things, he snaps. We need to get out of here. His mind spins with plans, a rendezvous point, somewhere to hide them both while he convinces Bram the deed is done, buys them time. Alec! Talia grabs his face between her hands, forcing him to focus. Your nose is bleeding. He wipes it away impatiently. I'll carry you to the car in case someone's watching. Watching what? Alec, what's going on? Panic edges into her voice. There's no choice now. He wants you dead. The words taste bitter. He told me to kill you. Talia stumbles back, shock overtaking her expression. What? You heard him? Yes, we need to get out of here. I'll call my sister. His voice chokes off as if barbed wire wraps tightly around his windpipe, slowly constricting. Alec, what's going on? Talia's voice seems distant now. His vision blurs as the first wave of agony crashes over him. The metallic tang of blood fills his mouth. He realizes dimly it's his own. Just like Jill when she broke her word to Graham. Whatever power the man wields, it's already at work, turning Alex's body against itself for daring to choose his mate over his orders. Was it poison, the same kind used on Jill, or something worse? Alec, are you okay? Talia presses, her touch grounding him, even as the pain threatens to consume him. As his consciousness flickers like a dying light in her mind, Jill sobs, begging him not to leave her. Something crystallizes in Talia's heart. She might not survive his death anyway. The mate bond won't allow it. But he could live. He could survive if she lets go. She squeezes his hand, forcing calm she doesn't feel into her voice. I understand. Alex shakes his head violently, but she presses on. Your sister needs you. It should be me. Behind her, Jill turns to the dark-eyed man. Stop this, please. Desperation fills her tone. Regret colors his reply as Talia rises, moving to the kitchen on shaking legs. I'm not asking you to take Graham's powers, Jill pleads, while Talia rifles through drawers with single-minded purpose. Just save my brother. Saving him would mean canceling Graham's wish. The man's voice cracks with desperation. He wished for people to die should they betray him. Talia returns to Alex's side, a knife clutched behind her back. His eyes meet hers, full of such love and remorse it steals her breath. I'm sorry, he whispers, and she feels the truth of it echo through their bond. Me too, she says, the words steady despite the tears streaming down her face. In one fluid motion, she places the knife in his hand and closes his fingers around the handle. Before he can react, before she loses her nerve, she uses his grip to drive the blade deep into her own heart. His scream of anguish is the last thing she hears before darkness claims her. Alec watches her, only her. Her body lies cold in his arms. the knife still buried in her heart like a stab to his own. Around them, snow falls like ash, coating everything in deceptive peace. Alec moves forward, barely feeling the cold. All he sees is her. He could almost pretend she's sleeping, if not for the gaping void where their bond should be, where her consciousness should brush against his. When it doesn't, the mountainside looms like a giant's grave marker against the black sky, its jagged peaks lost in storm clouds heavy with snow. Skeletal pines creak and moan in the wind, their branches weighed down with ice. Against his back, the satellite phone weighs heavy in his bag. He'd taken it in case Graham decided to try reaching him again after ignoring his last call. Alec had delivered his message to one of Graham's men. "Come see your bride's body yourself, or I'll make sure the Red M's hear every detail of what really happened." A desperate gambit, probably his last. He'd been assured his message would be passed on to Graham, but even if it was, would the man actually show up? If he doesn't, Alec howls in agony, the sound echoing through the wasteland of his mind. He forces it down with cold rage, the only emotion left that isn't crippling grief. His car sits ahead, nearly buried in snowdrifts, exactly where he'd left it a month ago. The metal gleams dully under its white shroud, like bones bleached by the sun. No time for what-ifs, no time to think about how. He should have claimed Talia the moment he saw her. He should have run. He should have died in her place. Jill had tried to comfort him, saying he couldn't have fled. The magic would have killed him, but none of that matters now. Nothing matters except the weight of Talia in his arms and the revenge he probably won't live to see. Headlights cut through the storm, and Alex's muscles coil tight as the car approaches, his heart thundering against his ribs. If it's not Graham behind that wheel... The engine cuts off, a door opens, and a scent hits Alex's nostrils that makes his wolf bare its fangs in murderous rage. Graham Norrick emerges from the blizzard like a demon from hell, tall and immaculate in his wool coat. Power rolls off him in waves, but it's his eyes that make Alex's breath catch, empty as frozen lakes, devoid of anything human. When they fall on Talia's lifeless form, his lips curve into a satisfied smile that makes Alex taste blood. "Are you pleased?" The words scrape out of Alex's throat like broken glass. "Is this what you wanted?" Annoyance flickers across Graham's perfect features. "I told you it was impossible," he says, his voice carrying the boredom of a man inconvenienced. "Yet you make me come all this way." When Graham reaches for Talia, Alex pulls her closer with a feral growl he barely recognizes as his own. "Have you grown fond of my mate, boy? She was never yours." The words come out like a death sentence. Graham's snort carries all the arrogance of a man who's never lost. "You've made a grave mistake, wasting my time. Had you done what I told you to do, I might have let you leave, but you couldn't leave it alone, could you?" God, that knowing smirk. Alex's fingers itch to tear it from his face. "I won't let you get away with what you've done." "What I've done?" Graham's eyes widen in mock surprise. "I just lost my mate-to-be, the woman I loved. I haven't done a thing. You killed her, Alec, on your orders." Blood pounds in Alex's ears. "Because of your power, because no one can say no to you without losing their lives in the process. And who will believe you?" Graham snarls. "I'm a respected alpha, and you're a criminal rogue who abducted and held my fiancé captive for weeks. And we both know you did kill her, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So you admit it. Alex's voice cracks like a whip. You have the power to give orders no one can refuse. Graham shrugs, already bored again. About that, his voice turns silky. I think it's high time I put that power to good use. I would have let you walk away with the money you were promised, you know. But there you go, threatening to expose my operations. I can't let you live. You understand? I've got a war to start, territory to gain, enemies to crush. You really think other packs will join you over this? Alex sneers, though his heart pounds with desperate hope. He just needs Graham to say the word. He just needs him to admit it. You mean my darling Talia's tragic death? Graham's smirk widens. I know her uncle will, and if he does, other packs won't stand against it. It's only retribution, after all. The Red Moons pay for their crimes, well, your crimes. But in the end, does it matter who killed her? Alec lunges forward with a roar, and Graham raises his hand, that same satisfied smile still playing on his lips as he opens his mouth to give the order that will end this. The sword appears as if from nowhere, a silver arc through the falling snow. It doesn't just slice through Graham's throat, it twists, tearing. The sound of his shock mixes with the wet gurgle of blood on snow. Alec watches the light die in those soulless eyes, his own voice coming out like ice. Your belated engagement present from Talia, he says. Sorry she couldn't give it to you herself. Graham collapses to his knees as Roy Redma materializes from the storm, dropping his invisibility cloak. Happy to serve as Talia Monroe's sword on this one, he mutters, pulling Graham back by the shoulder to make sure the blade finds its mark. Their eyes meet and Roy nods. So your sister wasn't lying, he comments about the psychopath or the magic cloak. Alec barely hears him. His hands shake as he lays Talia in the snow, her dark hair a stark contrast against the white. She's paler than moonlight now, still as the death that claimed her. His fingers close around the knife's handle, and terror seizes his throat. Jill's words echo in his mind. I wish, once this knife is removed from her, for Talia to come back to life. But what if it doesn't work? What if this bottomless void where their bond should be never fills? Is he dead? Roy's voice seems to come from far away. Alec's grip tightens on the blade. The magician had promised, but what if something goes wrong? What if this is all for nothing? What are you good to go? Roy says. Alec pulls the knife free. For one eternal, horrifying second, nothing happens. His wolf readies itself to follow her into death. Then Talia's eyes snap open. Relief and joy surge through him, a tidal wave crashing over the fear and grief that had consumed him. You're safe, he murmurs, brushing a hand over her cheek as he holds her tightly. You're safe, Talia. I'm here. The back room of the magic shop feels like a tomb, dark and airless, with shadows pooling in the corners like old blood. A single painting hangs crooked on the wall, its pastoral scene of flowers at dusk making Jill want to tear it down. How dare anything look so peaceful right now? Adrian sags on the room's lone couch like a dying man, which he might well be. His skin has taken on the waxy sheen of old candles, dark veins visible beneath like rivers of ink. Each breath sounds like it costs him, raspy and wet. Jill might feel sorry for him if he hadn't started all of this, if his magic hadn't nearly destroyed everything she loved. The weight is killing her. If her wish fails, if Talia doesn't wake up, if she's lost what matters most to her for nothing. Her fingers drum against her thigh, wolf quick and restless. The shop's bell chimes, and hope surges before Adrian groans. New client. They'll have to leave eventually. Iris shrugs from her spot on the floor by his knee. Adrian gives a weak nod, his head lolling slightly as consciousness begins to slip away. Iris gives her a withering look. Go get it. She glances between them, reluctant to leave. I don't really feel like it, she says. Adrian warns her with a pointed glare. Fine, she sighs, giving Jill a meaningful look. I'll be right back. As soon as she's gone, Adrian's condition seems to worsen. The veins in his neck have turned black, spreading like poison beneath his skin. Sweat beads on his forehead despite the room's chill. You don't look so good, Jill observes, unable to keep the edge from her voice. A weak snort escapes him. Your sympathy is touching. I feel no sympathy for you, she snaps. Yes, he whispers, eyes glassy with fever. His breathing grows more labored, his skin so translucent now that she can count every darkened vein. Are you going to die before granting my wish? The words come out sharp. It's done, Adrian groans, eyelids fluttering closed. Done, she echoes. Her brother's maid is awake. Relief floods through Jill, followed immediately by a wave of grief so strong it nearly brings her to her knees. So I won't be able to bear children? No. His body sways to the side. What mattered most to her was the prospect of having a family one day. He collapses onto his side, the couch breaking his fall. Jill briefly wonders if he's dead and finds herself wishing he was. If she hadn't found Adrian in time, what about next time? He's still dangerous, still able to grant wishes to monsters like Graham, creating more nightmares for other families to endure. Her fingers find the knife in her boot, the one Alec always insisted she carry. Adrian lies there defenseless, chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. She approaches cautiously, kicks his leg. No response. This might be her only chance. She found him by pure luck. Who knows if she'll ever track him down again? The knife feels heavy in her hand as she studies him. He looks almost beautiful in his suffering, like some tragic fallen figure. But beautiful things can still be deadly. She could be doing the world a favor, really, protecting others from his power, from the wishes that destroy lives as often as they save them. Footsteps echo from the shop, Iris returning, but she's human, not a threat. Jill raises the knife, aiming for his exposed heart. Pain explodes in her shoulder, the knife clattering to the floor as she stumbles forward. Behind her, Iris stands in the doorway, rifle trained steady. Yes, I know, her voice carries none of its usual warmth. This doesn't actually kill you unless I aim straight for the head. The rifle shifts upward, and unless there are silver bullets, which there are, it must hurt like hell. The pain is excruciating, burning through Jill's shoulder like liquid fire. Still, she manages to spit out, "He's a menace. The things he can do, all the lives he could ruin." You know, Iris cuts her off, her voice dripping venom. The only reason he can't defend himself right now is because he broke the rules. Telling you about Graham, he isn't supposed to tell anyone about someone else's wish. When he breaks the rules, he gets sick. He'll be bedridden for weeks, if not months. Jill meets Iris's gaze and flinches. It's the same look she'd have given Graham if she'd had the chance, as though Jill is the monster here. But it makes no sense. You'll regret it, Jill warns, because she knows she's right. She has to be right. When he goes on ruining lives, you'll see. You should have let me. Iris fires the bullet, singing past Jill's ear, stunning the latter into silence. Their eyes meet once more. Jill thinks she means that now. Get the out of this shop, Iris warns, or the next one goes in. Jill backs away, shoulders screaming, watching how Iris positions herself between her and Adrian's unconscious form. Ah, what happened? She hears the latter slur painfully as she retreats. Kid tried to kill you, Iris tells him. Jill hears Adrian sigh. So, just another Tuesday then. She never sees him or Iris again. Some wishes come with prices too steep for anyone to pay. The full moon hangs like a blessing over the Mantropac grounds, bathing the garden in silver light. Paper lanterns sway in the spring breeze, strung between ancient oaks that have witnessed countless mating ceremonies. But, Talia thinks, adjusting her white dress, none quite like this one. Through the window, she can see the gathered packs below, Montrose, Norfolk, and Redmond mingling freely for the first time in generations. Peace achieved through sacrifice and love, though the thought holds no bitterness now. Roy Redmond stands chatting with her uncle, both alphas laughing like old friends. Former Norfolk Pack members, freed from Graham's influence, have integrated seamlessly into both packs, choosing their loyalties freely at last. If you keep fiddling with that dress, I'll have to redo the flowers. Jill's voice carries a warmth that wasn't there months ago. She's different now, harder in some ways, softer in others. The price she paid weighs on her still, but tonight, even she seems at peace. You know, I never thanked you properly, Talia says softly, turning to face her soon-to-be sister-in-law. For bringing me back. You've thanked me plenty of times, Jill shrugs, avoiding eye contact as she adjusts a moonflower. And I did it for Alec. Talia smiles. I know, she says, catching Jill's hand and stilling it. That's exactly why I'm grateful, not just for saving my life, but for being there for him all these years, for having his back when no one else did. Jill's eyes shine suspiciously bright for a moment before she clears her throat. Yeah, well, someone had to teach him how to use a washing machine. Talia laughs, recognizing the deflection for what it is, love wrapped in snark, the way Jill shows affection best. The music starts, soft and sweet on the night air. Talia takes a deep breath, squeezing Jill's hand once before stepping out into the moonlight. The aisle is lined with white flowers and candlelight, but Talia sees none of it. Her eyes find Alec immediately, standing tall and handsome in his dark suit. His eyes lock onto hers with that same intensity that first captured her. Her heart, once heavy with shadows, now brims with joy. His wolf exudes pride and possession through their bond, making her smile as she walks toward him, toward their future. Talia reflects on everything that led them here, the pain, fear, and impossible choices. But gazing at Alec now, feeling the love between them strong enough to conquer death itself, she knows every step was worth it. His hand reaches for hers as she approaches, warm and sure, and Talia feels it deep in her soul. They're finally home. Thank you for joining this journey. If you enjoyed it, consider liking or leaving a comment. It truly means so much. To everyone who has supported me before, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your encouragement keeps these stories alive.